I have received a diagnosis.
My name's Olivia, and I am free.
Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to talk about my diagnosis and just kind of give you an overall health update because it's been almost a year since the last time I shared, I think it's titled My Health Journey with you guys. So today I'm just going to talk about my health. So I have received a diagnosis of Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, or EDS for short. And EDS is a rare genetic connective tissue disorder. And by genetic, I mean it's linked to a certain gene. A gene that it's linked to is collagen. And collagen is super important. It is in your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments. Everybody has collagen, by the way. It's in your organs, it's in your brain, your eyes, it's in your skin, it's in like every part of the body. So that being said, EDS can cause a domino effect of many conditions, and those conditions can also have complications because of EDS. Since EDS is a genetic condition, you are born with it, and some people don't start experiencing symptoms until they get much older. And for me, I kind of have been experiencing symptoms that my family, my parents, nobody knew that they were symptoms because we wouldn't think about them or connect the dots. But whenever my symptoms started to progress, then a lot of doctors started to wonder what the underlying condition was. And so my experience with getting a diagnosis, which by the way, I didn't receive a diagnosis until the beginning of, like, middle part of last year, not the beginning, around the middle of last year in 2019. So my doctor, specifically my immunologist, was wondering what was the correlation between two secondary conditions that I have. One is called mast cell activation syndrome and the other is POTS. And most times they have a primary condition causing those. And a lot of times if you have both of those conditions together, then for my doctor who knew, doctors who know about this will start looking into connective tissue disorders. And so my doctor started asking questions related to EDS. And the very first question he asked me is, are you flexible? I was later tested on something called the Beighton scale. And the Beighton scale is a test of your hypermobility. So a lot of times people who don't know the correct terminology will describe it as being flexible or being hypermobile, and or being flexible and being double jointed, and the correct term is hypermobile. So the scale is how many of these hypermobile things you can do out of 9. And I scored an 8 out of 9. So what consists of this scale is if you can take your pinky finger and you can bend it past 90 degrees. So that would be 1 point. And then this side would be another, but mine only bends up to 90 degrees, so I don't get that point. And then another one would be if you can take your thumbs and you can touch them to your wrist. And then your other would be another point. And another one would be if you can take your arms and you can hyperextend them past 15 degrees, which that one is a yes, and that one is a yes. And another one would be if you can bend your legs past 15 degrees, kind of like my arms, and I can do both of those. The last one would be if you can bend down, touch the ground with your palms flat on the ground, and that one is a yes. That leaves me with 8 out of 9. That left my immunologist very suspicious of Ehlers Danlos Syndrome or another related connective tissue disorder. So he then referred me to a geneticist, and at this point, like I said, I've already been diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and I had been tested for all rheumatological conditions, so like autoimmune diseases and cancer, many other things. So a lot of things had been ruled out at this point, and I was honestly getting pretty desperate for a diagnosis because I wanted to put a name to what I was experiencing and find others that may have been experiencing the same things as me. After receiving a diagnosis and seen for my heart problems and my immunological disease, I then was sent to a GI specialist. The first GI doctor didn't do much, so my primary care provider then sent me to a new GI doctor who actually performed a bunch of different tests to figure out why I was experiencing the GI symptoms that I was experiencing. And we ended up finding out that I have a malabsorption issue. And at this point in time, we're not really 100% sure what is causing the malabsorption, but we do know that I have mast cell activation syndrome, which I will speak about that in a little bit. But mast cell activation syndrome has most likely caused the malabsorption, and at this point in time, the coronavirus has caused a lot of issues with people with health. Well, I mean, it's affected everybody globally. It is a pandemic. So that being said, the way it has affected me is, since I have chronic health issues, I have not been able to see my providers in person, which if I'm seeing them in person and they want to order labs, I can just go down the hall and get labs. And another issue is that I receive injections, and those are really important for me to live and not die. So it's really risky for me to go out and receive those. And then another thing is that my GI doctor has ordered a small intestinal feeding tube, and I have not been able to get that procedure done because of the coronavirus. Prior to any of this, I forgot to mention, I have also been seeing a hematologist for quite some time now. My hematologist is actually the one who did the cancer testing that I was talking about, and they did that by doing a bone marrow biopsy. And like I said, cancer was ruled out. I do not have that, but what the bone marrow biopsy did show is that, one, I'm severely anemic. Two is that I have a blood disorder called leukopenia with neutropenia. And what this means is your leukocytes are what make up your white blood cells, and your white blood cells are what make up your immune system. And there are different types of white blood cells, and specifically for me, my neutrophils are very chronically low, so I am unable to fight off infections, and I am also very susceptible to getting sick. And then Another thing that we found out is that I've been chronically low in potassium and many other electrolytes, and electrolytes are really important for your muscles and just everything to be functioning properly in the body. And so my doctor ended up inserting something called a Port-a-cath, and you can search my channel to find out more information on my Port-a-cath. Anyways, so that knock, by the way, was my best friend. You can see him on some videos on my channel. But yes, so my hematologist had my port inserted, and another thing I want to address is my wheelchair. Sometimes you'll see it in some videos and sometimes you don't. And let me tell you, EDS is one of the #1 conditions that people question a lot. And it is actually called the invisible illness, and a saying that doctors use is, when you hear hoof prints, think horses, because most likely it'll be a horse. If you watch Grey's Anatomy, it's on there too. They even say that same phrase on Grey's Anatomy. Thing is that people with EDS are called zebras, and that's because the condition is rare and it's genetic, and with it being in the collagen, most likely doctors aren't going to check for any genetic mutations in collagen unless they're suspecting EDS. And so it goes either unnoticed or undiagnosed for many years until a patient starts to get very, very sick. And so anyways, back to my wheelchair. Well, I'm using it sometimes because my blood pressure is either too low for me to be walking around without passing out. And then I also use it because there are some times where pain is very unmanageable and I would be in a lot less pain using my wheelchair. The last reason is people with disabilities or chronic illness are often called a spoonie. You can go on Google, look up what is a spoonie, and figure that out. But anyways, what I'm trying to do most times when I use my wheelchair and I'm not in pain or my blood pressure is not a problem is that I am just trying to conserve energy, and that is so that I can do things that I need to do later on, or I have something fun planned coming up and I would like to use my energy for that. So that is the reason for the wheelchair. All the assistive devices I use are my port, my wheelchair. Obviously, I'm on many medications to help with symptoms and to help normalize things in my body. And then I am also, like I said earlier, getting in nasal jejunal feeding tube to help improve my nutritional status and help me put on more weight.
One last thing before I end this video is I'm going to attach a few pictures to show you the many ways that EDS can affect someone. Quick content warning. This is going to show hives, a dislocation, etc. So let's get started. Okay, so this is my hip popping out of place. That one's good, not this side.
Alright, that is the end of this video. I will be doing another video very soon about mast cell activation syndrome and about, if I can remember the name, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So those will be in upcoming videos very, very soon, I promise. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification sign if you would like to see more videos coming soon. Bye!